So the last time I did a full fragrance collection video was about 4 years ago, I believe. And that video is titled My Updated $35,000 Fragrance Collection. And I went through my entire collection in that video and I added everything up at the end in editing. It took a very long time and it was quite frustrating and a lot of work. But that's the figure that it came out to. And I don't think that was retail either. I think that was what I paid for everything, which a lot of it was at discounter prices. And like I mentioned, that was 4 years ago. Things are way different now. At that time, I was really starting to gain some traction and I was adding a lot pretty quickly, rapidly. But now it's just even more out of control like you wouldn't believe. And I've said it before in passing in multiple videos, you know, this is nothing to strive for. What you see behind me is a small fragment of what I have, and primarily a lot of it is still in boxes right now and just scattered all over the floor. Legitimately, people think I'm being funny. I'm dead serious. And so really, at that level, it's just completely absurd. So for you guys out there who watch these videos, don't think you need to be shooting for that. You can really build up a solid collection with, you know, well under 100 if you really wanted to keep it lean. Today, what I figured I would do is kind of go through what I think are just some of my best right now. Just some that are going to be in high rotation moving into the cool season. Some that are just the best bang for your buck as far as my taste. Some of these are a little bit more expensive, like the niche options that I'm going to talk about. But a lot of the designers here are very reasonable and they are incredible at that price point. Because like I mentioned, if it was worth $35,000 4 years ago, it's well in excess of six figures at this point. So there's a lot to choose from down here. These are some of my favorites. Now this first one is a brand new release, and I have to give credit here. This is from a very popular designer brand, but they haven't completely hacked up the prices, right? This was new this year. This was an addition to a very successful, highly anticipated line of fragrances, and instead of rolling it out at, you know, $150, $160 or something crazy, this comes in at a cool 90 some odd dollars full retail. It's the new Mugler Phantasm. Again, major respect there. It's super rare that you can get a designer release at retail for under $100 these days. At least when we're talking about the new ones, right? Maybe some of the OGs that are still available for, you know, $80 retail. Maybe that's a little bit more common, but as far as brand new releases, not so much. There was a point when I was getting started where your typical average price of a new designer release at retail was around $80 to $85. So the fact that they're bringing this one in at this price is really cool. And I have to say, this is worth the retail price. At some point, it's going to hit discounters, and I would definitely recommend you buy it at a discounted rate if you can, but if you don't want to wait, fall is quickly approaching, this is something that would be worth that $90. This one has dark chocolate, patchouli, and a really, really nice coffee accord. It is a fantastic gourmand that kind of ties back a little bit to the original, but it's nowhere near as woody and earthy and heavy and strong as the original Angelman. It also doesn't smell a whole lot like Pure Malt or Pure Havana either, which was definitely something people were hoping for, and unfortunately that's not the case. This one is just kind of a modernized new take on the original Angelman, if you wanted to put it bluntly, but still with more of a designer wearable approach, being that it's leaning in a gourmand direction from a dark chocolate note that is prominent and a really nice roasted coffee with a ton of woods as well. Now, they do have some aromatics in here like clary sage and things like that. Not really getting a ton of that. That's just kind of a very common thing. You know, you see those notes in a whole bunch of new stuff. This is a really, really good new release that you should definitely check out as we move into fall and winter time. Okay, next up, we're going to go for more of a premium option here. You know, for me, when I kind of step back and I start looking at my niche collection, it's nowhere near as sizable as my designers, but I do have a lot of the major niche players. And from this brand, this is probably one of the most notable ones. From Roja Parfums, it is Creation E or Enigma and the Parfum Cologne version. Now I have the Parfum as well, which I probably prefer, but I'm also not that picky about them either. I have both. I actually kind of wear the Parfum Cologne more just because it's cheaper and I feel as though I'm saving money, even though I already bought them both anyway. Actually, I think they might have sent me this. But I do have a couple bottles of this, and I have a bottle of the Parfum. So at one point I've bought them, but they also have been gracious, and they've sent me free bottles as well, which is cool. But yeah, this one is a very, very distinct tobacco and kind of boozy fragrance here. It's got vanilla, cognac, and tobacco as some of the key players, but there are way, way more notes as well. If you were to go look this one up on Fragrantica or just look at the full note breakdown somewhere, it's vast. There's a lot going on. It's a very mature and sophisticated smelling scent. This is not going to get the attention of all the young guys out there if you're looking for something for fall, winter, evening use. This might have a little bit of a slightly powdery old man smell to it, a tiny bit. And I mean no disrespect to the fragrance, but just as an easy way to describe it, there is a bit of that going on. And I think that's kind of coming from the heliotrope that's in here, just a little bit of that powderiness, which that little part there I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's so minute. And the rest of the scent is just overtaken by the vanilla, tobacco, cognac, and all those other notes to where it's not really a problem for me. It's a really heavy, strong, rich, boozy, sweet, and slightly gourmand scent as well. That is fantastic for an evening out. Now, this one has worked its way down to the low to mid $200 range on discounters for the Parfum Cologne, which is a 100 milliliter bottle, not like the 50 ml Parfums. And so, again, that's a lot of money, but price per milliliter wise, not crazy. And I think this would be a good entry-level niche if you want to go a step above something like Elysium from Roja, which is also a great entry-level niche fragrance, but isn't quite as niche smelling. So let's move over to Bleu de Chanel Parfum. It's got lemon zest, sandalwood, amberwood, there's some cedar in here, and I believe some lavender as well. And then like bergamot later on, kind of, pushed further down in the scent, but really, as far as fresh notes and citrus and things like that, it's the lemon zest off the top is what is really most prominent. It really gives it a nice bright punch in the opening, which is amazing and probably one of my favorite parts of the scent. And it's always sad when your favorite part of the fragrance is the opening, because that's always the most fleeting, and then it goes into the dry down, which, trust me, nothing wrong with the dry down. I still love the dry down. That's kind of the majority of the scent, so if I like it this much, I have to be okay with the dry down as well. So I'm not discrediting that, but the opening is just something I really enjoy especially. And when you apply this one, sometimes you want that opening to last just a little bit longer, just with how it comes together. And I think for me anyways, it's my favorite and what I believe to be the best of the Bleu de Chanel line. There's nothing wrong with the EDP or the EDT, but if you're already spending the money, if you go up to the Parfum, you get something that has a bit better performance, it's a bit heavier, stronger, and richer, and just kind of the most refined version of Bleu de Chanel. Are they going to do a Bleu de Chanel elixir? I think we were all kind of expecting that considering the evolution of Sauvage, but who knows? I really would not be opposed to it. As much as people hate elixirs and are annoyed of them, I'm kind of getting a little bit tired of them, although some are really good. I would be down for a Bleu de Chanel elixir. Let me know if you would. Okay, now we're going to go over into another niche fragrance. This is by far the most mainstream niche brand. This is like the niche brand that non-cologne guys buy just so they can flex on people. Because it's always the non-cologne guys who are buying really, really expensive niche just so they can tell everybody about it. Like people in the community, like you guys watching this, you're not buying expensive designers and expensive niche just to tell people about it. You're buying it because that's your hobby, that's what you like, and you like how they smell. So Creed is kind of like the hype beast flex brand, but they still have some great creations, and Green Irish Tweed is one of their best. A lot of people say, oh, it's just overpriced Davidoff Cool Water. To each their own. I will say, I do not like Davidoff Cool Water. The Eau de Toilette, to me, it's just way too synthetic and too screechy. And I'm not being a niche snob, right? Because I love Cool Water Wave, $20. I love Cool Water Parfum. I love most of the other Cool Waters, and I love a lot of other fragrances for $20 besides Cool Water Eau de Toilette, the original. I think there are many, many better options out there, and I think Green Irish Tweed is pretty far off from that. It's got lemon verbena, violet leaf, ambergris, and then a nice little iris note in here with some soft woods as well. Man, the lemon verbena is the star of the show, and it is absolutely stunning. This fragrance is breathtaking. It's another one that is kind of easy to forget about how good it is just because it's kind of dubbed as like a everyday signature scent. And typically those are kind of looked at as being a little bit more basic and a little bit more or I should say a little bit less unique overall, but there's something about this stuff that is truly special. And you guys know I'm a big lover of Creed Aventus as well. That was my wedding day scent. That has been a scent that I've worn for many big life events and just a fragrance that I've crafted great memories around. It's one of my favorites. That's an obvious choice for this video. What would probably have to be my second favorite Creed, I guess, would be Creed Aventus. If we're not talking any of the Aventus flankers or anything like that, it's probably GIT. This stuff is amazing. I've got it in this bottle. I've got the 75 ml, some of the older ones. I love it. Next up, we're going to go with Prada Luna Rossa Black, which is all about tonka bean and amber. That's it. They have some musk and they have some other stuff. Tonka bean and amber and you know, close the book. That's it. Dusty, powdery, semi-sweet from the amber. That's all there is to this one. And because of that, it is a pretty unique scent with very much an acquired taste. I think when you think about what a cologne is, something that's marketed for men, this does not check those boxes. It could easily be unisex or even feminine leaning, depending on how you quantify that. In the beginning, when I was starting out, that was very much a thing. You know, at this point though, just not so much. I mean, if something is blatantly feminine smelling, I'm not going to wear it. Things that are more in the middle like this, I don't have a problem with. I really do think it's all about your perception and how you carry yourself when you're wearing those scents. You know, this one it's no problem. But do be aware, man, it is very, very powdery. And some people just don't like that in general, regardless of if it's a, you know, a gender smelling thing or not. You know, it's just powdery. And that can be a bit weird sometimes. But in a video where it's more personal, you know, speaking about some of my favorites, this one has to be in here because it is one of my favorites, especially for the cooler times of the year. Performance leaves a bit to be desired. That's my only knock about this scent. Other than that, it's amazing. We're going to go from that one into Mercedes-Benz Club Black. So this is, you know, a car brand, obviously, just like some of the Bentley fragrances. But I'll tell you what, Bentley and Mercedes-Benz, they rival some of these really popular, really big designer brands as far as their fragrance releases, which when you look at these, it kind of sounds cheesy, like, oh, it's a Bentley fragrance or a Mercedes-Benz or a Ferrari fragrance or whatever. Those are some great scents. I mean, across the board, a lot of the Ferrari scents are discontinued now, but the Bentleys are just all amazing when you're talking about the original, Intense, Absolute, and you know, Black Edition. Those are all great. Even Silver Lake, really good. A lot of the Mercedes-Benz, amazing as well. This one is all about the vanilla and the benzoin. But basically, it's all vanilla with some ambroxan off the top. So another one that's going to be more of an acquired taste because of kind of what I was talking about with Luna Rossa Black. Not masculine smelling, not necessarily feminine smelling either, but could easily split off in either direction depending on what your taste is. And so some people don't like that. Some people just like it to be one or the other. This is not that. But if you are a fan of really, really realistic vanilla, this is it. And it's only $40 to $50. Sticking with that same price range, $40 to $50, we have Rocus Mustache Eau de Parfum. This is going to place really, really high in my top 10 fall designer fragrances video, which is coming up. I'm finalizing it. That's kind of a spoiler, but at the same time, people who have been watching my channel, they would expect that anyway. This is the YSL Tuxedo DNA with their own twist, being less of a focus on patchouli, more of a focus on vanilla, benzoin, pink pepper. But it still is undoubtedly a take on YSL Tuxedo, which Tuxedo by YSL is, I don't know, it's near $300 at retail. I think it's gone up over the years, $260 to $270-ish for 125 ml retail. It's getting up there. Add in shipping and tax and you're knocking on $300. That's a lot of money. And some people struggle with that because it's still a designer brand. Just like Tom Ford, their private blends, it's designer, but they're niche quality. Same can be said about that YSL, but at the same time, you could spend $300 and get a PDM or a Creed or a Killian, a couple Killians or something, right? And at least you feel like you're getting more of a luxury product. It's not the case here. You don't have to worry about it because you can get a very similar smell for about $50. This is amazing, and it truly smells like the season of autumn. Next up, we have Versace Oud Noir. You know, they're kind of the king of $40 to $50 scents, in my opinion. At least one of the main designer brands that are dominating that price range. Some other brands have gone up and kind of gotten out of that. Versace has remained pretty consistent in that 40 to 50 range, which I love. This is the only one, however, not the only one, but probably one of the few that goes out of that. So you're looking more at about $70 for this, okay? Sometimes it'll dip into the high 60s for a tester, but that's kind of where you're at. So you're paying about $30 more than your usual Versace, but also you're getting, in my opinion, $30 worth of extra uniqueness and quality and just better scent composition overall. Not that anything's wrong with the others, but this one is a lot more of a premium and unique experience compared to something like Versace Pour Homme. And it's an oud scent, although it's a very mild, light, entry-level designer oud. There's nothing animalic about this one. There's nothing that smells too crazy or funky about this one. It is still wearable every day for pretty much anybody. Really, all you have to do is be able to tolerate the scent. If you like it enough to where you can stand smelling it all day, you can pull it off and really nobody else around you is going to think that it smells bad either. So we're working our way down to the end. We have Kilian Sacred Wood, one of my favorite niche brands because when I'm in the mood for a gourmand or like a boozy related scent or a coffee, chocolatey scent, I'm pretty much looking at Kilian right away. And then from there, I narrow down my choice because there are a lot of them. Sacred Wood, kind of an interesting one because it was out for a while and it got, at least in the community, pretty popular and then went away, discontinued. Now, they were still offering refills. That is one cool thing about them is for most of their fragrances, even if they discontinue the retail bottle, they'll still offer like the refill bottles. I don't remember the size off the top of my head. So you can actually refill your bottles. So you can kind of save some money there in the long run versus buying a retail bottle again. So for a while, I think Sacred Wood refills were available, but not the full presentation. And I am a full presentation type of guy. I have to have it. And finally, they re-released this, I think a year or two ago, and it's still out right now, so they brought it back. Sandalwood, musk mallow, incense, cedarwood, and milk are the main notes in this. So milk is kind of just alluding to a very creamy sandalwood, essentially. That's basically what this is. Sacred Wood is a sandalwood fragrance. Like that note breakdown there is the new note breakdown for this. Like the OG Kilian Sacred Wood, it just had like sandalwood and milk and maybe one other note as the note breakdown. So they've expanded on it now. But really, again, it's a sandalwood fragrance through and through. A creamy, sweet, silky, milky sandalwood with some other notes to kind of boost it a little bit, but none of those others are too awfully prominent. The sandalwood is the star of the show, and it smells amazing. Last up for this video, we have Dolce & Gabbana, the one eau de parfum. All of these years, all of these flankers, all of these much more expensive fragrances, I'm still going back to $70 Dolce & Gabbana, the one eau de parfum is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, this stuff is a work of art. It's amazing. It's the tobacco and amber combination that just sets this one apart and just makes it smell so good. It's a true favorite of mine that I'll love for years and years to come. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Just some of my favorite fragrances that stand out in my just out of control mess of a collection. So I will link all these down below if you want to check these out. I will have samples available over on my website of a few of these. We're still working on getting the inventory built up, but like Mustache Eau de Parfum should be on there if you want to try that one out. We're throwing in a free sample in every sample order, which is cool. So you'll get some freebies in there and all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.